Tony Jaa, the renowned martial arts icon who captivated audiences worldwide with his daring stunts, mysteriously disappeared from the public eye. Was it the result of a personal collapse? Did the entertainment industry tighten its grip and derail his career? The reality is far more unsettling than most imagine. In this video, we delve into the shocking story behind his vanishing act. Stay tuned to uncover the truth. Tony Jaa's journey began in the humble surroundings of Surin, a small town in Thailand. Born into a family of rice field laborers, he grew up working alongside his parents, Rin Sapech and Thong Di Yiram. Life in Surin rarely inspired dreams of stardom, but for Tony, something within ignited early on. His parents weren't famous, but they instilled in him the value of hard work and unbreakable determination. Tony wasn't driven by fame or wealth, yet he was drawn to something much greater: martial arts. Fascinated by legends like Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li, he didn't just admire them from afar, he aspired to follow in their footsteps. To Tony, martial arts were more than combat, they were an expressive, almost mystical art form. But how could a young boy from a rural background ever hope to emulate his heroes? Rather than waiting for an opportunity, Tony took action. While other children played games, Tony spent his time outdoors, mimicking the martial arts moves he watched on television. He practiced tirelessly, training his body through repetition and sheer force of will. There were no fancy gyms or coaches, just his passion and drive to improve. At 10 years old, a significant moment arrived when Tony began studying Muay Thai at a nearby temple. It was not merely about fighting, it encompassed discipline, honor, and a deep respect for tradition. The training was harsh, with no luxuries or equipment, but it helped shape Tony's identity. He wasn't just learning to fight, he was learning a way of life. As he grew older, Tony began entering local Muay Thai competitions. He quickly distinguished himself with powerful strikes, precise movements, and unwavering concentration. It became clear he wasn't just another young fighter, he had something special. Yet, Tony didn't dream of a life confined to fight camps and tournaments. He yearned for something bigger, a stage where he could combine martial arts with storytelling. That chance arrived when Punna Ridikrai, a renowned stunt choreographer, noticed Tony's raw talent. Punna was famous for creating groundbreaking action sequences, and he immediately saw potential in Tony that no one else had tapped into. Inviting him to join his stunt team, Punna set Tony on a new path, one that would change his life forever. No longer a boy training alone in the countryside, Tony began learning the dangerous art of stunt performance under Punna's mentorship. This marked the beginning of his professional journey, and it wasn't long before Tony's name would become synonymous with explosive, gravity-defying action. But what pushed him from unknown stuntman to global martial arts sensation? The turning point came with Ong-Bak, a film that revolutionized martial arts cinema. Released in 2003, Ong-Bak sent shockwaves through the film world. It wasn't just another action flick, it was a cinematic milestone. Tony Jaa, once practicing Muay Thai in rural Thailand, now had the world watching in awe. His speed, improvisation, and raw athleticism captivated audiences. What made the film truly unique was its realism: no special effects, no wires, just real, bone-jarring action. Viewers were left asking, how is he even doing this? Through Ong-Bak, Tony Jaa redefined what a martial arts film could be. It wasn't flashy editing or CGI that amazed viewers, it was his own physical performance. Every fight scene was executed with intensity, precision, and artistry. The battles felt authentic, viewers could almost feel the sweat and impact of every strike. Ong-Bak wasn't just a movie, it was an experience. It catapulted Tony Jaa into international stardom and made him the new face of modern martial arts films. But Tony didn't stop there. In 2005, he followed up with Tom Yum Goong, also known as The Protector, once again showcasing his unparalleled skills. This film expanded beyond Muay Thai and introduced new elements to his repertoire. One standout sequence featured a 4-minute continuous fight scene inside a restaurant, an unbroken shot capturing every single move. Tony wasn't just fighting, he was performing a choreographed narrative through his body. The level of creativity and danger in the scene had never been seen before. Tony's ability to perform extreme stunts without digital aids pushed martial arts cinema into new territory. He wasn't merely testing limits, he was redefining them. With every role, Tony Jaa's fame and credibility grew. Soon, he was known far beyond Thailand, hailed globally as the next martial arts superstar. Fans and critics began comparing him to Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li, and rightly so. Tony's style blended traditional martial arts discipline with modern grit. His movements were exact, his stunts fearless, and his performances entirely authentic. What set him apart was that he did it all himself, no camera tricks, no stunt doubles. Audiences craved more. As his fame soared, so did interest from Hollywood. The world had found its newest martial arts legend in Tony Jaa. Not long ago, well-known directors and producers were interested in Tony's skills. Tony was honest, strong, and could move in ways that even experienced action stars would have noticed. These were traits that martial artists hadn't seen in years. He wasn't just a martial artist, he was a real-life action star who could do stunts all over the world. As Tony's career soared, so did the pressure. His next challenge would come from those closest to him. Tony Jaa's rise was not as smooth as it seemed at first. He was kind behind the scenes, but the expectations of being famous were getting to him. Things were about to get even more difficult for Tony, but you might think that when you get big, everything gets easier. He was fighting to be in charge of his whole business, not just movies. His bond with Punna Ridikara was the first clear sign that something wasn't right. Punna had been Tony's guide. He was the one who first saw how brilliant he was and gave him the chance to shine. But the pressure grew as their jobs did. Changes that were creative started to creep in. Punna and Tony had different ideas about what their next big project should be, which is what caused the highly anticipated movie Sword to be cancelled. This was the start of them getting farther apart. Tony, the rising star, felt more and more restricted, and Punna didn't like the way things were going either. Still, Punna wasn't the only one fighting. The Thai company Sahamuncle Film, which was responsible for his early successes, had a tight grip on his career. They controlled everything about him, including the movies he made, how much money he made, and where he worked. Tony was becoming famous all over the world, but Sahamuncle was keeping him in check. They didn't like it when he played roles outside of Thailand or left the Thai film scene. It was like being locked up in a cage. The world outside was calling. They wouldn't let Tony move up in his job, even though he really wanted to. Tony wasn't pleased that the company wanted him to keep making the same types of movies that had worked in the past. He wanted more. He wanted to get away from Thailand and show them that he was more than just a martial arts star. But because of how he affected the company, that was almost impossible. He was excited about more than just fame. It was his creativity and the freedom to choose the jobs he wanted. The real turning point happened while shooting Ong-Bak 2. What was supposed to be a follow-up to the hit first Ong-Bak turned into a nightmare of a production. Tony was in charge of the movie and not just playing in it. A great deal of stress was present. He was doing things that were even more dangerous than they had been in the past. Besides that, he had to handle creative disagreements, keep up with production, and talk to the center about the growing stress. Too much for one guy to handle. Tony quickly felt stressed out. He wasn't seen on the set for weeks, and rumors started to spread. Some said he broke down because of stress, while others said he was trying to get away from it. No matter what the reason was, it was clear that he couldn't handle everything. Tony had to take a break, which was something he had never done before because he was too tired to keep going. The company didn't know what to do and ran to nowhere. They were trying to keep the movie on track even though things were getting out of hand without Tony's help. This was the start of a very bad time for Tony Jaa. The man was struggling just to keep his head above water. He seemed indestructible at one point. At last, the body pains of action work, the stress of being under studio control, and his own problems had caught up with him. So what happened after that? This was the end of Tony Jaa's career. Would he be able to make a comeback? The tension with Punna and the studio was just the beginning. Soon, a much bigger challenge would force Tony to make a choice. Behind Tony Jaa's rise to fame, whispers began to spread within the industry about a shadowy force that was quietly controlling his every move. While Tony was known for his incredible fight scenes and gravity-defying stunts, there was something even more powerful at play behind the scenes. The rumor was simple, yet chilling. Tony Jaa was under a sentence imposed by the very people who made him famous. But what does that even mean? The sentence wasn't some formal court ruling or jail time. It was a tight, controlling contract from Ong-Bak Film, the Thai studio that had been handling his career since the beginning. This contract wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a chain, one that limited Tony's freedom and creative control. While he was the star of hit movies like Ong-Bak and Tom Yum Goong, he wasn't in full control of his career. Ong-Bak Film kept him tethered, making sure he stuck to the projects they approved and limiting his movement outside of the Thai film industry. What made this even more frustrating was that Tony was becoming a global sensation. Hollywood was knocking on his door, but Ong-Bak had other plans. The studio didn't want him to leave, they wanted to keep him in Thailand, making movies that worked for them. And, if he tried to break free? Well, that's where the 50 million naira demand came into play. If Tony attempted to sign a contract outside of Thailand or pursue international projects, the studio would hit him with a massive financial penalty, 50 million naira. Can you imagine that? Having a giant weight tied around your neck while everyone else is telling you to run free? This sentencing was more than just about money, it was about control. Ong-Bak had invested a lot in Tony's success, and they were determined to keep him in their grip. But that came at a cost. Tony, who had once been full of energy and excitement, began to feel the strain. The pressure was building, and the studio's demands were suffocating him. It wasn't just the studio holding him back, it was the weight of his entire career being controlled by someone else's hands. In 2010, after years of feeling trapped, Tony made a shocking move that no one saw coming. He disappeared from the public eye. The man who once captured the world's attention with his stunning fight scenes was now stepping away from it all. Rumors flew about why Tony disappeared. Some said he had a breakdown, others believed he was simply done with the industry. But one theory stood out: Tony had retreated to a Buddhist monastery to find peace and clarity. Maybe it wasn't just the industry pressure that drove him to this decision, maybe it was the sentence that kept him from breaking free, from pursuing the career he wanted. Whether the 50 million naira demand was the tipping point or not, this sentencing fueled even more speculation about Tony's sudden departure. People started wondering if he would ever return to the big screen. Was he done with movies for good, or was this just a break he needed to come back stronger? The mystery of Tony's disappearance added to the enigma of his career, leaving fans and industry insiders alike eager for answers. But for now, Tony Jaa remained a legend in limbo. What was next for him? Only time would tell. The disappearance of Tony Jaa. In 2010, after years of feeling trapped, Tony made a shocking move that no one saw coming. He disappeared from the public eye. Tony Jaa, the action superstar who had wowed audiences worldwide with his jaw-dropping martial arts skills, suddenly disappeared from the film industry. It wasn't a normal break or a vacation. No, Tony made the shocking decision to leave behind his fame and fortune and step away from the cameras for good. He decided to become a Buddhist monk. At first, people were stunned. How could Tony, who had been on top of the world, just walk away from everything? Was it a mental breakdown? Was he running away from the pressures of being a global action hero? Or was it something more, a chance for a spiritual reset, a break from the noise of the world? The answers weren't clear. Fans, critics, and even his colleagues were left to wonder why someone who had just been at the peak of his career would suddenly vanish without a trace. As the weeks turned into months, rumors spread. Some said Tony had reached his breaking point. The constant pressure of being an international star, the toll of performing dangerous stunts, and the struggles with the studio must have weighed heavily on him. Others thought he simply needed to find peace. After all, Thailand's Buddhist traditions are all about finding balance and inner harmony. Maybe Tony felt that he had given everything to his career, and now it was time to focus on something deeper, something more meaningful than fame and fortune. Whatever the reason, Tony's disappearance was felt across the martial arts world. He had been the face of a new era in action films. Ong-Bak and Tom Yum-Goong had changed the game, and Tony had quickly become a household name. But now, with him gone, a void was left in martial arts cinema. Fans who had eagerly awaited his next big movie were left in the dark, wondering if they would ever see him on screen again. His absence was like a shadow hanging over the industry. While Tony was meditating in the monastery, the world around him moved on. Other stars, like Donnie Yen and Iko Uwais, stepped up and tipped the spotlight. Hollywood, which had once shown interest in Tony's talents, moved on to other actors who could deliver the high-octane stunts that had made Tony famous. For a while, it seemed like Tony had disappeared forever. His career was frozen in time. But the question still lingered, would Tony ever return? Would he leave behind his monk's robes and come back to the screen, or was this the end of the road for the martial arts legend? His disappearance left the world guessing, and the mystery only deepened as the years went by. Was he truly done with the film industry? Or was this just the calm before the storm? And so, as the world moved on, the legend of Tony Jaa continued to grow, with fans waiting, hoping, and wondering what would happen next. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more amazing content.